Ved I virkelig ikke, hvem Tillicus er?
Nej.
Nå. Tillicus er alle tiders fabeldyr. Den går løs på selv de største snabeldyr. Den er vild, spruder ild, skræmmer selv en rød sild.
Kom kun frem, lille pus.
Who's afraid of Tillicus? So, as you might guess, we're going to be talking about both Reptisaurus and Tillicus, well, Reptilicus, because your humble agent here loves the movie Reptilicus. And there is, Vinegar Syndrome has a dual-layer Blu Ray now of both Reptilicus, the English version, the US version, and the Danish version. So, we're going to talk about the comic book version here, which, after 2 issues, transformed from Reptilicus into Reptisaurus, which is pretty interesting. I mean, it's kind of saying reptile lizard, if you think about it. But looking here, I was trying to see if the second issue was still Reptilicus. Yes. But before we do that, please like, share, subscribe, vote in the poll. If you're on YouTube, you can't vote in the poll, but there will be a YouTube video, right? At some point, we will get this lighting fixed a bit. But it comes out really, I think it looks pretty darn good. Anyway, and I am, as always, X7, the host of Xenorama, the podcast of heroes and monsters. So grab yourself a stack of wheat cakes. I'm not going to try anything with reptile wheat cakes because I just can't. And let's get into Reptisaurus or Reptilicus / Reptisaurus. This book is from a place called Classic Comics Library, which takes public domain and reprints them with everything you want, including the prose stories and the backup stories like first meetings and other things. So, the Reptisaurus Reptilicus run went for a whopping 9 issues, I believe, 1 through 2 and 3 through 8. Reptisaurus did also make a cameo appearance in one of the Gorgos stories, so helping out there. This is a great cover here from toward the end of the run where the art got a bit better. So, but as you know, we've covered Reptilicus in the first one. The first issue, which was published in 1961, right about the same time the movie was, had art by the cover, which we showed a minute ago, was by Rocky Mastriosario. Stories and art were by Joe Gill, Bill Mano, Vince Salacia, Charles Nicholas, and Rocco again. So this was a tie-in. The first one was a tie-in, and it follows the movie pretty quickly. Right up to the very end, where, of course, Reptilicus is dead. Period, end of story. Boom. And the artwork's pretty good. Reptilicus is green here. And then there was a follow-up, Daydream. Some little doofus daydreaming about beating monsters to impress a girl. It's only a 4-page. Then Reptilicus number 2 showed up. It's still good artwork. Now, Reptilicus didn't look this fearsome in the movie. I love the critter, but fearsome it was not. The green slime was pretty fearsome, but I don't think it shows up in the book at all. Let's see if I can find any of it. That was a US add-in, which was not in the original version and pretty much wasn't needed. This one was from the same year, 1961. Dick Giordano, who later on became a fine artist, and at DC Comics, as well as Charlton, which is where he started working. Trying to get over here to that second one. Yes, he did the cover there. Obviously, still only 10 cents. Is that what that says? Still 10 cents. Whenever you saw that still only or still 10 cents, you knew a price increase was coming in the next 3 or 4 months. This one, it's in the African jungle. So if you remember, Reptilicus had a claw blown off in an other episode, which grew back into a new Reptilicus. In fact, Reptilicus wasn't even dead, the first one. So later on, he's just running around. The problem with one with one monster stories is they're not really doing this, but they do kill Reptilicus. Oops, where'd that go? Kill Reptilicus by getting him stuck in a volcano. Then there's the War Against Wei, which is, I believe, a Chinese, red menace, yellow menace thing. Killers of the Deep, backup, which is about, they have is that a moray eel, which is nothing. I mean, there's and an octopus. An octopus this size would not really attack a person unless it was hungry or it felt threatened. Then, I mean, they didn't talk to anybody. So our third issue shows up, and we'll get over to that. We're not going to go through all of them. And Reptilicus is now red. This is covers by Sal Gentile and Vince Alascacia. And the stories. There's usually one or two stories in each one. And this one, he's not one monster, but many. So, yeah, they have eggs. Somebody has eggs, and they hatch. I believe that there was a mate showed up who had a pteranodon head. Oh, these are aliens. Look at the aliens. Reptilicus is, years before Godzilla became Earth's savior, Reptilicus was doing the job for him. I mean, Godzilla was still on ice in 1961, if you think about it. Just looking. The art here is fine. I wouldn't call it wonderful. It seemed like it got more rushed. Ooh, look, the Monster of the Loch is our secondary story. Which, I don't know. Is this supposed to be Loch Ness? Scottish fisherman. Yeah. So these are all, and the reproduction is fine. I mean, for what I paid for it, it's fine. So we've got, now Reptilicus is now much scrawnier if you look at it, but shown eating stuff. Reptisaurus meets his mate. So let's get a picture here of the mate. Where is that? This was kind of a last minute thing. I wish Svengoolie is showing Black Friday tonight, and I've seen it, and it's not my favorite. It's not terrible, but oh, look. There's two, and they look exactly the same right now. This is going to change. Because you can't keep them apart, but they figure out they like each other. Aww. So now we're going to have a lot of little Reptilici, or Reptisaurusi. And our next one here, or our next story, and there's a King of the Apes here. Now, at the same time, Charlton was publishing both Gorgo comics and Conga comics, and they did make Conga much more palatable than that terrible movie could ever be. But this cover here is a whole different animal. I mean, Joe Sinnott, who later on would be the inker supreme on the Fantastic Four for Jack Kirby. Oh, this is a fake. Never mind. I don't know that they even. There's no mention of Reptilicus's mate, and I'm going to call it Reptilicus because that's just what it is. Until it sees this Chinese dragon, and then there's also a furry giant in here, which is not Conga. That movie's just really bad. I think I've sat through it twice. All things told. Yeah, so another backup story, first meeting about how people... Oh, and even a monster's from space. Look, a three-headed monster from space. How about that? And a worm and a spider and a giant flying one. Now, Rodan had been around already. Flying stingrays in space. Go figure. I would have loved this comic as a kid. Reptisaurus versus the Red Star. So he's going to Russia now. We still haven't seen a mate at all since the first one. And, I mean, geez, Reptilicus is red. They probably thought he was a good guy. A couple of more one-page stories. And now we get to Reptisaurus Returns, which probably happened after a couple of years, which I think the art has improved, because look at that. That's an impressive looking beast. That one could challenge Godzilla. 4 legs now. Also, you'll see on the cover, the newly improved mate. So there's two of them at least, which, nowadays they'd be considered rare and wanted to be studied if they didn't eat people. They're just eating sperm whales and one-eyed octopus, whatever they can get. They're gigantic. But definitely the mate, has a pteranodon head now. They don't look exactly alike, and they introduce a couple of recurring characters, I think. So the art has greatly improved as far as I can tell. Cover was Mel Montes, Ernie Bosch, and Sal Gentile. I mean, they did the last 3 or 4 of these. So we're closing up here soon. More science fiction stories. And here's a mini, one of the babies, I'm guessing, on this cover. And, they're caught. But that's never, that never happens. So yeah, there's a whole family of them now. There's at least 4. The flying one and the pteranodon-headed one, plus 2, at least 2 babies. Is that 2 babies? Yeah. Montes and Botch. I would say Bosch or Bach, but I don't know. I don't know where they are. They're still in Red China, but the art this is much better artwork. It's just overall an improvement. It's just that the stories lacked direction and didn't have much continuity within themselves. I mean, if they'd have figured it out, have a giant monster fight a giant monster, Godzilla, Gamera. I'm surprised they got 9 issues out of Reptilicus because the movie's not great, but they did move it around. They had the same blonde-haired guy from the other one. Reptilicus is not a giant monster like Godzilla. Maybe that looks maybe 25, 30 feet tall. And they can fly. There's a lovely little story about the discovery of fire. And finally, we get to the last one, which is what's on the cover here. They're in South America because you can tell, but it's the flying serpent. Looking nothing like Reptilicus at all anymore, which is fine because it's Reptisaurus, but it's just more like it's like a dragon. We never do see the saliva again, and the mate's nowhere to be found in this final story. No, and then we have the beginning of the Earth, or some planet, which is not the Earth. There's a dinosaur there, but there's also some weird looking other things. But they rarely use their models. Although, like Turok, you could tell the books that Turok stole from. So really, for the price it was, I don't remember, maybe $20 to get all 7 of them all in one, complete, and in big enough print that it's easy for people of a certain vintage to read. I highly recommend it. I don't know if they're still around. I would think so, because they do make sure things are in public domain so they don't get sued. And really, who's going to sue over Reptisaurus? There was a sequel to the movie called There was a Reptisaurus movie, which was, despite having Buck Rogers, Gil Gerard in it, was adequately entertaining. CGI. It was a bland colored monster. It wasn't even, didn't quite, it looked a little like, it looked like a wyvern, really, with just the 2 legs and wings, which, they kind of do with all dragons these days. This beast is impressive, these last couple of issues. So the movie's worth a watch. The sequel, it's no Reptilicus, I'll tell you what. All right, my fellow agents, this has been just another little short bite here. Until our next assignment, just keep singing this song. This is X7 signing off.
På sin ryg, den har en masse store skæl. Kommer den, så skriger alle folk farvel. Skarpe kløer, vingefang, mindst 1 kilometer lang.
Kom, kom, frem, lille pus, hvem er Tillicus?